What's up, guys? This is Brian with Western Equipment. Now let's jump right on in and start talking about the brand new to 2024 John Deere 335P. This is going to be a brand new model to the John Deere compact track loader lineup, so let's check it out. Now with the 335G, John Deere saw some needs that customers were asking for, and they were voicing their opinions, telling them that we need these certain things. So there are going to be three things that we are mainly hitting on whenever we're talking about this 335P, but we are going to do a complete walk around with that. But the three main things we're going to be focusing on is, for one, the upgrade in the engine. So you are now going to have a 118 horsepower engine on the 335P, and also the 334P, which is just the wheeled version of this machine. Then you're also going to have a new hydraulic system. So you are going to go from an open center hydraulic system like we had on the older G models to a new PCLS system, which is a pressure compensated load sensing hydraulic system that is going to have actual sensors built into this machine to know when and where to put that hydraulic pressure, to not only optimize your hydraulic use, but also to optimize fuel consumption as well. And then last but not least is going to be a fully redesigned and larger cab that we will go over in full detail once we make it to the inside. Now, starting on the outside, if you are familiar at all with the G series machines, you will notice that most things are going to look fairly similar here. You are going to have the same boom design that you had on the 333Gs or the 331Gs. We are going to have that little bit of slope here on these booms to allow material to come off if we happen to have that build up. Once we move down, we are going to have the same track system on this machine, and you are going to have the option on the 335P to have either the standard tracks or the anti-vibration tracks. Now, if you don't know much about the anti-vibration tracks, I've actually got a video going over exactly what this system is comprised of, so I'll make sure to leave a link to that down in the description below so that you can check that out. But as far as the sides of the machines, everything is going to be the same, except you are going to notice a little bit different structure here on the cab with the grates that are on the outside of the windows here, and then also you'll notice just that there is more glass on this machine. So from John Deere, they say that with this cab you are going to have about 20% more glass, which means you are going to have that much more visibility once you are inside the machine. Now, one thing that is going to be different over here on the side of the machine that you may have noticed up here on top is that you are going to have the options on these 335Ps to add a 270-degree camera option, meaning that you will have a camera on either side of your booms, on the right hand side and on the left hand side, that is going to correspond with your rear view camera to give you a 270-degree view from inside the cab, which we'll show more about once we get inside there. Now, once we're here at the back of the machine, kind of like we talked about before on the sides, most things are going to stay the same. The way that we are going to open our rear hood is going to stay the same, where we can raise this up and get to a lot of our daily checks here. We are going to get to such things as our diesel fuel, our air filter, we're going to have our engine fill and our oil dipstick. We're also going to have our hydraulic fill right here on top, and then you are going to have, of course, your fluid reservoir right here. But if we want to get into the sides of this machine and be able to get into a little more detail, we can raise this boom up, lock it out, and then go ahead and pull these side panels off, and this is going to allow us to get a lot better all the way around the engine here to be able to do different service to this machine. This is going to allow us to get to those different filters, maybe such things as our alternator. All those different things that we need to get to are right here on the sides once we raise that boom up and lock it out. Now, once here at the back, you are going to have two service points that don't require you necessarily to remove these side panels, but if you do need to move those to get to these, you can do so without raising up the boom. But if you are needing to do service to the engine, then that's when you're going to want to raise the boom up and out of the way. So over here on the left hand side, here is where we are going to have our depth fill. So right back here, we are going to have that depth fill. And then over here on the right hand side, you are going to have to remove this panel. So you can see right here, we have this black handle, and then one on the inside, or we can simply pull up, pull out on that panel. And then right here, we can raise up on this box here, and this is going to be where our battery is located. Now, over here on the left hand side, you are going to have all of the same features that you would have on the right hand side. The one thing that I would point out here before we leave the rear is that you are going to have two tie down points that are made into the rear frame of this machine. And then whenever you are looking for your front tie down points, you're actually going to have those built into your loader frame right here. So you have plenty of places to chain this machine down to make sure that you are hauling it safely when going from job site to job site. Now, as we move around to the front, everything is going to look relatively the same once again as we would see on our G series machines. But two of the main things that I would point out is whenever we are looking at our front coupler, so when we are looking at our quick attach coupler here to be able to pick up those different front end attachments, you should definitely keep in mind how much bigger and bulkier and beefier this front hookup is. So whenever we are looking at pieces like this, where our cylinder attaches here, how much heavier those pieces of steel are on each side, how much more they are covering the actual pin there, and then also just how much bigger the arm is here on the boom going down to the bottom pin. And notice that they have changed up the pin style here to where you have a more heavy duty robust pin going all the way through on these hookups to make sure that you have that lifting capacity that you are going to need on this machine. Now, lifting capacity is going to be one of those interesting points whenever we are talking about skid steers, so we'll go ahead and jump into that on this machine. What your tipping load is going to be on this machine is 11,500 pounds. Now, tipping load is the number that you're going to use for your lifting capacity. So 11,500 pounds is what we are going to be able to pick up at the pivot, be able to pick that up. Once we start raising up on that, this is what we'd call the tipping point. So this is where it's going to give you the possibility of whenever we raise that load up of possibly starting to tip this machine. So whenever we are looking into actual capacities and what we are able to move with these machines, what we really like to use is 50% of tipping load. So what we're looking more closely at here is right around 5,600 pounds whenever we are looking at the lifting capacity that we are going to be able to actually pick something up, move it around the yard or around the job space, and be safe with this machine. So keep that in mind whenever you're getting in this and using this machine. That is what we're going to be looking at as far as our lifting capacities. Now, the other main thing that I would point out here in the front is going to be our hydraulic outlets here, our auxiliary hydraulics. You are going to see a big difference here because before, Deere would have one set of couplers no matter if you were running in standard flow or high flow, and this caused some issues from time to time whenever we were trying to put different attachments on the front of these machines. We maybe would have to get an adapter to be able to go up to that certain fitting. Well, now what you'll notice is that whenever you look at this machine, you have both sets of couplers. You're going to have your high flow couplers here and then your standard flow couplers here. You're still going to have your K-strain coupler and then also your electric outlets right here, but you are going to be set up here to where you are able to fit any of those attachments and accessories here at the front that you could think of. Now, while we're talking about these couplers, let's talk a little bit more about that hydraulic system. So like I said before, in the G series, we had the open center hydraulic system. Now, how that hydraulics works is depending on the RPM of your machine. So the higher the RPM that you had running in the machine, the more hydraulic flow you were getting out of your hydraulic pump. With this new PCLS system, this is going to be that pressure compensated load sensing system. You are going to be able to put on those attachments, run them as you need to, and it is going to be able to sense the amount of pressure and the amount of flow you are going to need for that machine. But what you're going to get out of this is you are going to get 25 gallons per minute at your standard flow and 44 gallons per minute at your high flow, and you're also going to have the ability of moving up to a high pressure setting. So on the G series, you could go up to 3,500 psi, whereas now here on this P series, on the 335, you can get up to 4,000 psi, but you definitely need to make sure that whatever machine you are running can handle that type of pressure before we switch those settings in the cab. Now, a couple of things more about the cab and the engine. Now, we talked about our hydraulic system here, the updates to it, and then we talked about in the beginning that we have now up to 118 horsepower engine on this machine. But just so that we know, so that if you have those questions, that is going to be a 4-cylinder Yanmar, and it has that gross output of 118 horsepower at the peak. So you are looking at more of a rated horsepower of 114 and a half. So We also talked about the newly redesigned cab. Now, a lot of that is going to take place on the inside, which we are about to get to, I promise. I know that's what you're waiting to see. But the other big thing about this is, with this redesign, it has turned this cab truly into a one-piece, fully sealed and pressurized cab. So before, whenever you were to lift this cab up, there are 2 bolts on the side of this cab, one here, one over here, that whenever you raise this up, this piece right here, the foot pan, actually stayed down in the machine, and then the rest of your cab raised up and out, and then you had to remove that foot pan to truly get to the underside of this machine. Now, as you can see, there is a handle that is welded down here on the bottom of this foot pan, so that whenever you take these 2 bolts loose from this cab, you are going to raise up with that handle. That whole cab, including glass and all, the foot pan, seat, and everything, is going to raise up, allowing for a more efficient way to service the underside of this machine. So before we actually make our way inside, let's go ahead and open up the door and point out the things that we can see before we actually enter on the inside of the cab. So what you're going to see, first of all, is you are going to see a completely redesigned seat. This is going to be a heated and ventilated seat on this 335P. You are going to have your adjustments down there on the bottom of the seat. Once we look down in the foot pan there, you're also going to have your fill for your windshield washer fluid. You're also going to have redesigned joysticks here, and as you can see on the front of these joysticks, you're going to see these levers. That's going to allow these joysticks to go back and forth to help fit that operator even more. The lap bar is going to be about the same. You're also going to have the roof that you can see through there, so whenever you're raising those objects up and into those high spaces, you're going to be able to see that. Like I said, if you just take an overall glance at the inside of the cab, you are going to have more glass, so more visibility overall inside. All right, so now sitting in the cab here, you can see that we have plenty of room here. This is before we have the lap bar pulled down, so I'll go ahead and pull that down now. So we get that pulled down and we have the door shut. One thing that we would point out here about the door is that you do have emergency exit handles right here and right here. Now, I actually have a video showing how these come off and how they go back on and how they're used. So if you are ever in an instance where you need to use these to get out of this machine, if for some reason the boom is up and it is in the way of you opening the door, not only do you have a rear exit back here, but you also have the option of using those 2 handles to remove this front glass to be able to get out. But if you need to know how to get those back on and how to get that off, I'll make sure to leave that video down in the description below. So this machine here is going to be a keyless machine, so you more than likely, before you leave the dealership, are going to have such things as an anti-theft code set up on this machine so that you can be able to start it. Now, you not only have to have one, but you can have multiple if you're going to have multiple different operators for this machine. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get this machine started up, and right now, with me just sitting in the seat, it already has the screen pulled up here on my right hand screen, ready for me to enter that pin. So I will go ahead and enter that now, so we can get this thing started and the AC on. So once we've entered that pin, you are going to have your full screen pull up here. Here in your top right, it's going to show you such things as hours, temperature, coolant temperature, what settings your machine is on right now, then also your gauges here. So you are going to have a couple of temperature gauges, and you're also going to have your depth and fuel gauge. And then over here on the right is where we're going to get into our different options and menus. And right there, we're going to have music, phone, sounds, and then our menu button as well. Then up and over here to the right, we're going to have our AC controls. So we're going to have our fan control up there and our temperature control, and then our 25 button sealed switch module. So I'm going to go ahead and use this to start the machine up. We're going to hit our start button once to turn the machine on, push it again to get the machine started. One thing that I want you to notice is just how quiet it is here in this machine. Of course, we are in low idle. We don't have the air conditioner on yet, but I'm going to go ahead and turn this machine up to full idle here. And even at full idle there, we are at about 2,700 RPMs, and I'm not having to talk hardly at all. above normal level for you to be able to hear that. So it is a very, very quiet workstation in this cab. If we go ahead and turn the AC on, I'm gonna reach up here, turn this AC on, turn that temperature down. Now what you're going to have is you are going to have vents right here that can be adjusted as defrost vents. Then you're also going to have vents over here and right here. Over here on my left hand side, you are going to have some cup holders and storage, as you can see here. And like we talked about, you are going to have those adjustable controls. Now along with your joysticks, if we look right below them, we are going to have stickers here that are going to tell you what exactly each button is for. So you are going to have your auxiliary button here, your horn button up here to the right. These are also going to be auxiliary hydraulic buttons, and then these are going to adjust your creep mode on this machine. Then it also tells us over here to the left that this would be our driving joystick whenever we are in that ISO pattern. Once we move over here to the right, same thing, we're going to have that cup holder and storage down there at the bottom with that adjustable joystick over here. Then we're also going to have, once again, that sticker right down here telling us what our different buttons are going to be used for on our joystick, and then also what functions that joystick is going to do depending on what pattern we have selected. Now, another big change to this machine not only has to do with the joysticks and also the right hand display, but you're also going to notice that in this machine you are going to have a large left hand display. So right here, this is showing our rear view camera, but like we talked about before, we have that 270-degree camera, so we can touch that screen, go up here and change our camera view, and that is going to show that 270. Or we can hit the split mode here and we can show our 270 degrees or just our backup camera, and we can have that set to match whatever we want for our operation. Now we move back over here to the right hand side. What you would normally see in a G series machine is you would see a bunch of different switches over here, and those have been taken away and put into the sealed switch module. So if you want to learn more about the sealed switch module and learn just exactly what all features there are in that, this has 25 different buttons that do 25 different things. So I made a completely separate video that I will put down in the link in the description below so you can check that out. Now let's go ahead and take a look here from the driver's seat. If we are looking over to our left, we see just how much view we have right there all the way to the top. If we look up top, we can see out the top of our roof there. So whenever we raise that loader joystick up, we can raise up on this machine and we can see that loader all the way to the top. Now when we get to the top here, the tallest point of our bottom pin is going to be 11 feet. So when you have that bucket completely level, you are going to be at 11 feet. So you just know that you have 11 feet of clearance whenever you are going to either raise material, dump it into, say, a feed truck, or putting stuff up into a barn, whatever that may be. You are going to have 11 feet of lift in this machine. Then we can go ahead and lower that back down here. And then if we take a look over here to our right, we can see just how much we can see and out the back window here. So like I said, these are going to be ISO controls. You can also change to an H pattern if that's something that you are comfortable with. And then also you have the option for foot controls, which are not a very highly used thing anymore in these machines. So the ISO controls are nice because, for one, I can be holding the camera here with one hand and then grab a hold of the joystick here with my left hand and go ahead and push that forward, and we can go ahead and take off and be moving in this machine. Very, very easy. If I want to turn to the right, we are going to turn to the right. If I want to turn to the left, we are going to turn to the left. Very, very simple operation here. Pushing forward, we are going to go forward. And if I were to pull back, we go into neutral, or we can go into reverse. Now, the one nice thing is that on these machines, whenever we do go into reverse, we are going to have that backup alarm just to let people know no matter where we're at, if we're working on a job site, if we're working on the farm, working in a barn, people are going to know whenever you are backing up with this machine. Pretty standard safety equipment on a construction piece of equipment, but also nice to know that you have. Now, along with that ISO control, like I said, the right one over here is going to be for our boom and bucket. So we can see that as I pull back, that is going to raise up on the boom. As I push forward, that's going to lower that down. Now I'm gonna go ahead and raise that up. And if I push out to my right, that is going to dump that bucket. And if I pull into my left, that is going to curl that bucket. Once again, very nice system having that ISO control where you can do two different things with each hand. You are able to get a lot more accomplished with that than your normal foot controls. You are just having to do less and think about less. One hand drives, one hand runs the bucket. Then you have all of your auxiliary controls for any types of attachments that you may have out on the front of this machine. Last few things to point out in this cap. For one, you are going to have a rear view mirror. So hello there, that is going to give you a good shot of the outside. If you are not used to using your backup camera, then you are going to have your radio over here, but that can also be controlled right over here on your right hand touchscreen if you would like. You are also going to be able to set up such things as your phone in here. You're also going to be able to look at your notification center, and then you're also going to be able to go into your menu that is going to have a bunch of different things: machine settings, calibrations, slope indicate, job timer, diagnostics, display settings, and it goes on and on and on. So just know that all of your machine information that you need to get to is going to be right here in your right hand screen. So do not lose track of where you are going to look for information. Used to, you would go over here to the left, but just know that this is going to be for your cameras only now when you have this type of display. Now lastly, if we look right above our head, right up here, this is going to give us the complete layout of that 25 sealed switch module. So if you don't want to go and watch that video, take a still shot right now of this panel here, or whenever you get into your machine, just look up and you will know exactly what each one of those buttons does over there to the right hand side. So guys, I hope you liked this video. I hope this video got you excited for what is coming and what is already arriving to stores in 2024 in this John Deere 335P. Make sure that if you are in the market for one of these skid steers or compact track loaders, that you are getting to your John Deere dealership, checking one of these out, and also pricing out one of these machines. Now, usually what we do is talk about price and warranty in these videos with these machines, with how new they are, what all options there are available on these machines. I'm not going to get into price. I'm going to leave that up to you to go to your dealership, talk about the different options, see what types of prices, incentives, and discounts you qualify for. That way you know that you are getting the price that is there for you. And whenever you are looking into the warranty on this machine, make sure to ask about that additional power guard warranty to make sure that you are covered for those instances that you are not expecting. So guys, once again, I hope you liked this video. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, we just ask you would hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also guys, if you are looking for more videos like this or just more videos over John Deere equipment in general, make sure to go check out the rest of the channel. And as always guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, make sure to check out this cool video and this one. Buy your parts right up here and subscribe right here.